Hello, I'm Lawrence from Appliance Works. Has this ever happened to you before? You've gone to remove the milk from your fridge to make a drink and you think to yourself, that's not very cold. You then go on to check the contents of the fridge and found that too has started to warm up. If you check your freezer and found that everything in there is still completely frozen, there may be a good reason for this.
This can be caused by the drawers of the freezer being packed too tightly with food. When this happens, the door doesn't always close properly. Warm air can then be drawn in from the room. It then is drawn in through the back panel of the freezer and will condense on the freezer coils and eventually solidify as ice. If the ice builds up for long enough, and this can be as little as 24 hours, then the ice will then shut down the flow of air behind that panel, resulting in a complete shutdown of either the fridge or the freezer. When this happens, if the drawers of the freezer are removed, no ice is present. This is because it's hidden behind this panel, located at the back wall of the freezer.
So how do you correct this problem? Well, you need to turn the whole fridge and freezer off for at least 24 hours. This is the best way of passively defrosting your fridge freezer without doing any damage. I have seen suggestions where online people have suggested using a hairdryer or a wallpaper steamer. This will result in the ice being removed from the back wall of the freezer, but unfortunately it can also result in the lining becoming melted or individual components that are heat sensitive being burnt out. If this happens, then you will need a repair. So try to do a passive defrost first. This is the best way to do it without doing any damage. The unfortunate thing is that if you have lots of stuff in your freezer and you want to salvage it, the only choice you have is to have a spare fridge freezer in your home. If you have that, great, you can transfer everything across. If that's not possible, then the only other thing you can do is contact friends and family and say, do you have any spare space, because I don't want to lose the contents of my freezer, and can I transfer it to you for about 24 hours? If that's possible, then that's great. You can empty both the fridge and the freezer. Once you've done this, turn it off at the mains. I would recommend leaving the freezer door open. Another thing you could do is, if you're concerned about the ice melting and creating puddles, you can put a small towel down the bottom of the freezer, but there's usually not a lot of ice that will build up into water that will pool around the base here. This will often vent the back of the machine onto a tray, so there's not normally huge puddles of water to worry about. But you can put a towel down anyway, and that will take care of any water coming into the freezer. Leave the freezer door ajar, either by propping it or just leaving it completely open, and leave it open for at least 24 hours while the machine is off. Now, after 24 hours, you need to close the door and then turn the whole thing back on again. By this time, the ice should have completely melted, and once everything starts to cool down in the freezer, the restoration of the flow of air should commence and everything should go back to normal. Now, the freezer takes time to get cold, usually 3 to 5 hours, and then the flow of air will then migrate up into the fridge. If this all goes back to normal, everything's fine, there's nothing you need to do. Give the machine the 3 to 5 hours to make sure that everything's working. If it is, it's okay to transfer everything back again. If you find after 2 to 3 weeks that things start to get bad again, i.e. you find that the fridge starts to defrost again, then I'm afraid there is probably a fault there, and that will probably need to be repaired, because whatever's causing that it hasn't cured the problem. I'd say quite a high percentage of times, especially in summer, that this fault will occur, and it can often be cured just by doing a passive defrost. I hope this has been some help. Thank you.